Not only is it one of my favorite segments, but the crossover is a very contested battlefield, so to speak. I mean, after all, it is one of the more popular body type searches on AutoDeal.com.ph. In fact, we've done a number of videos on said particular cars, comparing and contrasting them. And if you'd like to see those videos, especially one that deals with turbo crossovers, yeah, you'd guessed it, the links are found down below. This is the new kid on the block, the Changan CS55. Now there's going to be a lot to cover when it comes to the exterior, the interior, the technology, and how it drives. So please do stick around on this episode of Behind the Wheel and find out if this rookie has what it takes to keep up with the All-Stars. Are you looking to compare prices for your brand new car? Well then, visit AutoDeal.com.ph, select the car that you want, and choose to request for a quote from our network of over 500 official dealer partners nationwide. Within minutes, you'll start receiving offers from the dealers you've selected. All that's left is for you to select the deal that's best for you. Get the best deal on AutoDeal. Now, when the CS55 launched, we were actually invited to the drive. Unfortunately, Jack and I were not available, but Earl was able to go. He came back to us with his first impressions and he was tickled pink about it. So today I want to find out just exactly why and does it really meet up to our expectations. Let's start at the front clip. Here you'll notice obviously an all LED affair. These lights right here are actually your turn signals, and when they come on, they actually look very pretty. These vertical and horizontal lights, or the other way around, this is the vertical, I said that properly. Anyway, the vertical and the horizontal lights here are part of your DRLs. Also too is the turn signal, which turns orange when you need to turn. Is that even correct? Yeah, all LED affair. No fog lamps, as you'll find below, because the technology allows it to be able to illuminate the road properly already without the use of headlamps. The grille, pretty large standard Chinese grille. You've got your camera in the center and then your radar down here for your functions like your low speed follow when it comes to your cruise control. The grille is, well, it kind of reminds me like the mischievous grin of a Cheshire cat.
It looks like you ran afoul of something with wicked claws.
Something like that. I don't even know if I did that justice. Let's move on down to, obviously, the Changan logo in the center. Moving on down the side, before we do, you'll notice that there is a gold or bronze or copper, well, that's not gold, garnish, literally a garnish just found here on the side. There's more of it that's found down here below. I like it, and then just a smidge, like a nudge, just a nudge here up on top. I think it's just enough to add a little bit of color in an otherwise very white, very refrigerator size color kind of a thing. And I like the way that it's broken up that way. On the side, you've got repeaters on your side mirror, cameras again that are part of the 360 function, and then 19-inch wheels. Good looking starfish design, nothing grand, so to speak, but good enough. What the wheels do make the 19 inches, which are also 55 series, they make it look very robust because you can see right through. You've got disc brake up front and at the rear, and then you're looking at this is actually, although my foot is a size 8, this is 171 millimeters of ground clearance. Now, from your view, it actually looks a little bit more than 171 millimeters, right? Actually, it's very tall. The reason why it's only 171 millimeters is that down below, you'll see that there are some things that are obviously only 171 millimeters. So that's the rating there. You've got a chrome accent that goes around the windows, and then pretty much your standard looking side, a line that cuts up to the C-pillar, and then from the A-pillar it kind of bends down to the C-pillar there. Very standard. What it does though, it gives it a very large perspective. In fact, the way that I see it, when I first saw this car from this particular angle that you're looking at, the first car that came to my mind was the the MG HS. Right? It's got that vibe to it. Come, let's look at the rear. This is probably one of the most unique third brake lights I've ever seen on a Chinese automobile. And the resemblance to that of the exhaust of a flux capacitor is really uncanny. Okay, maybe that's a little bit old. How about something, okay, it looks like double barrel gun of one of the robots from, what's the name of the movie, Jack? Pacific Rim. Right? And the thing about it is that I understand that they're trying to do something different to make the car stand out. But they've done so in a way that it doesn't actually look too childish. It still kind of works. It's very different. Anyway, let's move on from the third brake light. You've got LED lights that are very, very wide. Actually, they don't span obviously across the entire automobile, but they are pretty wide. You have exhaust tips here and here, which are obviously far, because the engine, or rather the exhaust is, where is the exhaust? Oh, there it is. There's the exhaust right there. And then you've got your fog lamp found here. When you open her up, and it's a power door, mind you, that takes a little bit of time, you are looking at 475 liters of space. Very, very spacious. If you're wondering, my assumption, although we don't have them right now, my assumption is definitely one balikbayan box definitely can fit with enough space for a carry-on luggage that you would on a normal airplane, on an airplane. I would like to show you the interior of the automobile now. Let's start with the rear seats, because I expected something a bit grand, and I got actually pretty close to that. Pretty close. Anyway, okay, the interior is actually quite impressive in the sense that it doesn't look bland at all. So obviously you'd expect black leather to be the predominant color all over the automobile in the interior, but it's got contrast stitching, that's one. And then up here, obviously you can see that it's a contrast color as well, just to add a splash of color to the seats. And then on the doors itself, yes, they are most definitely plastics, but it's got all different shades of cracks and textures as well. This is a texture and a shade. This is a texture and a shade. This is a texture and a shade. That's not bad. Oh, this is actually leather right here. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Spacious too. The seat is quite low. Everybody knows already that I am an under tall person. So if my legs are actually, my thighs are not touching the seat, just imagine how low this particular seat is. And to show you, look at the headroom. And that's with a glass roof, by the way, which is gorgeous. That is my normal driving position, not Jack's normal driving position. And I have a lot of space. I definitely do. A third passenger wouldn't be an issue because look, the tunnel is actually very, very low. The only issue for a third passenger in the back is that there is only one air vent available, a very massive air vent. Look at that, with two USB charging points, of course, type A's. But the one and only air vent that you have, which means that if there is a third passenger, then that person would be blocking all the air for the other passengers back here. Toys also include a center armrest with two cup holders, bottle holders on the door, which can, aw, Jack, you're so sweet, thank you, which can hold my bottle. Open the door so you can see, but definitely not Jack's bottle. I'm not even gonna try. What I will try is this. Does this? Yeah, snug. It's snug. So that's about it. That does for the second row. I gotta say, for my height, again, the under tall person, I find it very, very comfortable, even though my legs are a bit high. Now, for anyone that is, I'm assuming, about 5'7" or 5'8", with much longer legs than then yeah, their legs might come up a little bit. Much like if you were to be sitting on the bench of a basketball game just before you get into the game itself. So yeah. Before we move up to the front, Jack, can you come here? Because I want to show you guys one thing that I found very, very familiar. I noticed one very neat thing about the car is that it's very Peugeot in the sense of two things. Number one is when you open the door, like Peugeot cars, even the crossovers, by the way, you can check out the videos, the links are somewhere down below. When you open the door itself goes all the way down, which means that it covers this part of the automobile. Now what that does is when it's raining or when the car gets muddy and splashed on, this doesn't get dirty at all. So your legs or your pants when you get inside the automobile doesn't get dirty as well because it's protected by this part here. That's number one. The second thing that I found very Peugeot-like is look at the cockpit. Does that look familiar to you? It's like a copy of the iCockpit of Peugeot. The steering wheel is here, and then the instrument cluster is there. So it's quite familiar. I kind of like it because it... How the hell did you do that? Anyway, okay. So cockpit, like I was saying, familiar. I don't know if Peugeot is going to be too happy about it, but like I said, if it worked for them, I guess it's working here as well. Okay, let's discuss some of the tech in here. You have a instrument cluster here that is a 10-inch all digital affair, and then you've got a touchscreen infotainment screen which is 12 inches that controls all your functions, including your audio and your camera. It does have Apple CarPlay, but it does not have Android Auto. So this car is biased to Jack, not me. Your air controls are found here, which I actually quite like. It's flushed here. I like that. However, Jack and I did find that there is no physical audio button, volume button. So the only way that you can turn the volume up and down is on the steering wheel or in a menu on the infotainment screen, which is, it's okay. You've got a wireless charging pad here, cup holders here. You have Eco, Nor, and SP mode, a floating armrest with a lot of space down below, 12 volt here, and then you also have a space for your micro SD because that actually records the camera. There is a camera on this car, so it's got a forward-facing camera that records stuff if you ever need so. And I'm going to show you how that works right now. Turn the car on and see, like, to get the volume control, this is the only volume control on it, so it takes a while. Anyway, show you the camera. That's the forward-facing camera right now. And then let's say, for example, if something important does happen, then you can just press this button right here beside the Eco Nor knob. You can even take a photograph if you wanted to, and that stores it there. There is a cubby hole here that actually is quite deep. And then, interestingly enough, the sound system inside this car is branded, but it's not exactly a brand that you've heard of in a while. It's been a while since I heard this brand because, check it out, it's Pioneer. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. No, not at all. In fact, I remember Pioneer from the days of yore, I'm guessing, because I remember when everybody in my generation would be setting up their cars and they'd think Pioneer, you'd be thinking Pioneer and Kenwood, and you'd be heading to Banawe, right? That's how.
I guess so. Well, my car still has a Pioneer sound system.
Yes, but your car is also from
20 years old.
Yeah. Oh, and then also there is one thing. On the video of the Ioniq 5, I made mention that there was no insignia of Hyundai inside the car except for the 4 dots on the steering wheel and the 4 dots on the car. And then we were told in the comments that that's actually Morse code for H, which we thank you for that, by the way. So here's another one for you guys. Can you guys tell me what this means? There is this pattern inside the Changan CS55 that I have no idea. That looks like it's Wi-Fi. Right? So if you guys have any idea what that is, do let us know in the comments down below. Because
best answer gets a hat.
Why not? Best answer gets a hat. Thanks for that, Jack. So yeah, if you can tell us what that insignia means.
Doesn't need to be right. It
would
just
appreciate
has to be the best answer.
It doesn't need, wow, it doesn't need to be right. Give us the right answer and then give us a silly answer at the same time so that at least, you know. Oh, and then there's also one other thing that I found. It's, I guess you can call it a gimmick, but it's a really, really cool gimmick. Inside this automobile, you can actually change the sound of the signal lights. It's you gotta hear it. Custom. Instrument. There you go. Okay. I'm going to make it high so you can hear it. Here is the signal. I'm indicating right. It feels like I'm a contestant on Jeopardy.
Oh yeah, it sounds like, it's like time's ticking away.
Jack and I have made complaints in the past about the sound of signal lights. If this function were available in those particular cars, we would have sold 700,000 of them right then and there. Let's go for a drive. But before we do consider liking and subscribing our videos because we create them just for you guys. Just before we head on to our drive, there's something that I really want to show you guys, and this is really, really cool. Check this out.
Please continue.
Open sunroof.
Opening the sunroof. Here.
Open all windows.
Opening all windows. Please continue.
Make me taller.
Sorry, I haven't mastered this skill.
Trust me, neither have I. At the heart of the CS55 is a 4-cylinder 1.5-liter turbocharged gasoline engine that produces 185 horses and 300 newton meters of torque, mated to a 7-speed DCT. Now, to put that power in perspective, a 7-seater CX-8 has 252 newton meters of torque. Now, all that power mated with DCT, to be honest with you, it does take a little bit of time to get going, especially when you're in a standstill. When you're rolling, the feather light throttle is actually a bit more responsive. However, not on eco mode. So I'm gonna take it out of eco, pass NOR, and go straight to spit, and then feather the throttle ever so gently.
Oh God.
Oh God. Okay, slow down. That's whee. It's got soul. But for normal driving, see, the sport is actually gonna throw you back and forth. It's a bit on the jumpy side. So apart from normal, I actually like to keep the car on eco mode because it's just that much more refined to drive. It's a bit more calm. And to be honest with you, yes, it is definitely a crossover. You can get gigil every once in a while, but considering that more often than not, you're going to be inside the city, and most likely because of the size of the car, you're going to have passengers that you very much love or kind of love, like Jack inside the car, then you're going to be a bit more controlled when you do operate the vehicle. I meant that in the best possible way, Jack.
Thanks. Thank you.
You want to go to Baguio? In terms of fuel efficiency, it gets about 16 kilometers per liter on the highway and 9 inside the city, which, if those figures sound familiar, because they are actually almost identical to that of the MGHS. It's also a funny coincidence that the car that this is most similar to, which is the MGHS, well, they're both Chinese. They both have power plants that are tiny yet very powerful. They both are mated to DCTs. They're also almost the exact same size. Comparo? If we were to do a comparo of this CS55 and the MGHS, do you guys have any other suggestions as to what other cars we could bring to the comparo to see which one it would stack up against well? Let us know in the comments below. The steering is quite light. I enjoy driving this automobile. It's very, very easy, despite even the odd-shaped steering wheel. But let's face it, this is not the first time I'm driving an automobile that looks in this way. But yeah, I'm trying to get that it's very light and it's very easy to drive in traffic or on the highway. The visibility it's okay. The windows and the windshield is obviously going to be very wide, even the windows at the rear. It's just that it's not very tall. You can see this truck right here is beside me and scaring me, but the windows are not very tall. That's probably because the line here, the door line, is actually quite high. I do like to sit pretty low inside an automobile, which means that the hood of the car is actually seen. But since you've got power seats and power seats on the passenger side too, you can easily adjust it in any way whatsoever. And plus, there's also a 360-degree camera if you're ever in trouble. Cabin noise is kept down to a minimum. I like that. There were trucks passing us and motorcycles, and it was actually pretty quiet in here. Road noise is also kept down to a minimum. Comfort of the seat, it's very accepting, not to a point where it's a lounge chair, no, and it's not as firm as other automobiles, which you kind of look for because there's a lot more support. It's more accepting is what it is. The suspension is relatively okay. We're on a pretty bouncy road right now, traveling at 40 kilometers per hour, and it's by no means jarring. You can feel the road. The translation of the road to the steering wheel and the suspension is good, but it also shelters you from a lot. So you're obviously going to be quite comfortable inside this car, whether you're the front passengers or the rear passengers at that. I will say that the wind noise does creep in once you pass 100 kilometers per hour on the highway. But then again, that would be irresponsible. I mean, who in their right mind speeds nowadays? Really? If we stored that clip on like vinyl, it would be so gus that it would be unplayable already. How many times have we used
Roll
that?
the clip!
Speeding po, sir.
Stop it! The technology inside the CS55 is actually, well, quite impressive. You saw that what we can do with the voice controls and whatnot, but really the added safety equipment like the cross traffic alert, the lane keep assist, the adaptive cruise is actually pretty good and on par with more expensive vehicles out there. And it's not as if it's systems that I personally use, but for drivers, let's say for example like Jack, who enjoy these systems, it's nice to see that these systems are available on an automobile that isn't priced like those that carry it almost all the time. For instance, it's not like you're going to be staring at the instrument cluster the whole time, but it's really nice to see that the radar up front does really work, and it detects almost everything from cars that are coming into your lane, leaving your lane, pedestrians that are crossing, Jack seemingly crossing your path, that pretending not to see us. But yeah, it's nice to see that all of these systems actually work. To be brutally, and I mean brutally honest with this CS55, yes, it does have a shortcoming, yes, but I feel that it may be overshadowed by some of the great things that you can find inside this car, such as it does have a suite of tech. The interior is definitely something to talk about. I gotta be honest though, the transmission, yeah, that does need a little bit of help, especially when you're stuck in traffic. But the engine does come alive when you open her up on open roads, so to speak. The one thing that it's got really going for it is its price. It starts at 1,178,000 Philippine pesos, but the CS55 Lux, this top-end variant, comes in at just 1,378,000 Philippine pesos. Now, I said just because, well, if you put it up against, let's say, for example, the CX5, that is over 1,000,000 Philippine pesos more expensive. So it's actually closer to the price of the MGHS. So I will say that it isn't exactly going to go head-to-head with an all-star lineup, as we mentioned at the beginning of this video. But it does make a case for itself as a very capable sixth man.